Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you are here with us this week, and I'm looking at verse 8 of 1 Thessalonians chapter 1. So we are still continuing to work our way through the initial paragraph of this particular letter. And again, this first paragraph, chapter 1, verses 2 through 10, is Paul's thanksgiving. Since we're doing one verse this week, I wanted to just make note of the running context and kind of review verses 6 and 7. Verse 6, it states, "And you yourselves became imitators of us and of the Lord, by having received the word in much affliction with joy of the Holy Spirit." Verse 7 comes as a result of what took place in verse 6. So verse 6, they basically imitated Paul, and they received the gospel message. And then in verse 7, it says, "So that you became an example to all those who believe in Macedonia and Achaia." Now in verse 8 here, the word for will be an explanation or a further explanation of the combination really between verses 5, 6, and 7, but namely the result clause in verse 7. So if we translate verse 8, it's, "For the word of the Lord sounded out from you, not only in Macedonia and Achaia, but in every place. Your faith, which is toward God, has become widely known," or has gone out, "so that we have no need to say anything." Okay, as I mentioned in review, this word here, this conjunction gar, is an explanatory. Again, it's a manifestation of Paul's influence, which we saw Paul's influence in verses 6 and 7. So it's a explanatory, further explaining what happens as they became these examples of verse 7. All right. Now, as we move forward in the verse, we're going to have this verb here, exeketai, which is a third person singular, perfect active, indicative of exerchomai, again, which is sounded out, or you could almost say there was a trumpet sound, if you will, that went forth. And what was it that was trumpeted out or sounded out? And it was the word of the Lord. Okay, so this sounding out, what's interesting, again, perfect tense form. So really what happens is the word of the Lord basically became this everyday sounding out, or this gospel witness, if you will. It was part of them. It was their state of affairs. It was this aspect of their life that was continual. Then we have a strong contrast. That's why I circled the Allah. So not only was it going out in two specific areas that Paul mentions, but now he says basically in a locative sense, en pati tapo, everywhere. Everywhere the faith. And here's their faith, again, which is toward God, that went everywhere. Well, what was the result? And here's our result, hoste. The result was that the Thessalonians sounded out their faith in such a way that there was no need for Paul to write anything. That's why the letter of First Thessalonians is not corrective, but I would say more in the sense that it's exhortative, or it's in an admonitive way. I'm admonishing you and exhorting you to keep doing the work you're already doing. Then we get to Hamas. And if you recall, Hamas here is in the accusative case. So that is your accusative subject of the infinitive. Recall that infinitives have subjects, but if they do, they're going to be in the accusative case, and they're typically pronouns. So that's why I translated that so that here's the we have here, we have, and then here's no need. No need to do what? And here's the la lane. So this la lane here is a complementary infinitive that completes the meaning or the force of the verb, which just so happens to be another infinitive, which is a cane. And of course, the la lane is a present active infinitive, very much like a cane is also a present active infinitive. So that's verse 8 of 1 Thessalonians chapter 1. We will look at verses 9 and 10 next week, and then diagram the following week. Have a great week.